So on July 7th of last year, this was a horrible case that took place in Palo Alto. Jenny Shi was found murdered in her own home, stabbed repeatedly. Through the investigation of the police department, which went on for months, this is a case that fortunately has been solved. Had this case taken place 20 or 30 years ago, this is a case that might not have been solved. There were numerous initial suspects that were looked into, but ultimately what solved this case was forensic science and DNA. And that evidence led back to this defendant, Jingyan Jin, which is based upon that investigation being concluded and the great work that was done by the crime lab and the Palo Alto Police Department. We were able to make the arrest of this defendant.
So, should we read this, or we just start asking you questions? I mean,
You can both. I mean, it's not.
so the motive. I know you don't prove motive, but what, you know.
So that is something that we have done and are continuing to do a lot of investigation on. We do have some ideas on that, but I don't want to speculate just yet because that's an ongoing investigation. The suspect is the sister-in-law of the victim.
We just talked to her, and she said, a friend said that the suspect is actually the victim's brother's wife.
Correct.
That's correct.
Correct.
How many stab wounds?
There's 41 stab
Oh,
wounds.
jeez. Was the killing blow early on in the thing, or
I'm sorry?
was the killing blow early in the sequence?
I couldn't tell you that. Yeah.
So is the charge, is it murder at this point?
It's first-degree murder. The defendant has been charged with first-degree murder, and there's an enhancement for personal use of a deadly weapon, a knife.
And how much time does the enhancement have?
The enhancement itself, total time, is facing life.
Like 25 to life?
Yes.
Yeah. She lived in the house, though. The lady said that she once shared that house with her. Did she share it at the time of the crime?
Not at the time of the crime.
Okay. And so, because, I mean, the thing about DNA, the reason I'm asking about motive or other elements is, you know, if you live in somebody's house, you're going to have DNA.
Sure.
Was there DNA on the weapon? Where was the DNA that made you think, damn it, it's her?
So without going into too much detail, because I don't want to, because it is early on, and I do think this is the type of case where the facts should really be proven out in a court of law and not in the press by me. However, I believe as the case proceeds forward and this information comes to light, I believe the motive will be very clear, and also the location of the DNA will be very significant as a piece of evidence in this case.
Is it known whether or not they had, what kind of relationship they had?
I think you'll see from the statement of facts there is a past history that goes to the relationship, which is significant evidence in this case.
Oh, okay. So the motive is mentioned here. Of the murder.
Motive is not something that we've talked a lot about specifically because, as you know, it's not something that we have to prove. However, I do believe as this case progresses through the criminal justice system, motive will be proven and will be abundantly clear.
Okay.
Arrested for fighting with a business employee? Okay.
Is there any,
Scary lady.
how long was it before the victim was found from the time of the death?
So she was found within 24 hours of when she was murdered.
And do we know who specifically found her?
She was found by family members, a sister of hers and some friends.
A sister of hers, okay.
How old was the victim?
She's in her 60s.
Do you have any other suspects at this point, or do you believe that this is the sole person?
We have no information that would suggest or lead us to believe there was anyone else involved in this.
So it might have remained a mystery if it weren't for the DNA, you think?
This is easily a case that, had this taken place 20 or 30 years ago, would have become a cold case. If it wasn't for forensic science and DNA, I do not believe this case would have been solved. Certainly not as quickly as it was.